This is the private sitting room for the Princess Royal Princess Anne. She has opened up the room and opened up her schedule to do something she rarely does, conduct an interview with us about things she doesn't often talk about. Losing both her parents within the span of 18 months, the upcoming coronation, the future of the monarchy in Canada. This is our conversation with Princess Anne.
The halls of Buckingham Palace have witnessed centuries of drama, but nothing quite prepared the British monarchy for what unfolded on January 22, 2026. A rare statement from the palace, a devastating warning from Princess Anne, and allegations so explosive they threaten to redefine what it means to be royal in the modern age. What happens when a prince takes his family grievances to the High Court? When accusations of betrayal, blocked inheritance, and emotional sabotage become public record? And when the crown itself must draw a line between family loyalty and institutional survival? Welcome to the most explosive chapter in royal history since the abdication crisis. This is the story of how Princess Anne became the monarchy's moral guardian, why Meghan Markle vanished from the very lawsuit she helped create, and what Prince Harry's courtroom meltdown reveals about the future of the House of Windsor. By the end of this video, you'll understand why 74% of Britons believe Harry should have never brought this case to court, and why Princess Catherine's silence may be the most powerful response of all. The palace strikes back. Late afternoon, January 22, 2026. Buckingham Palace does something it almost never does. It issues a statement of principle. The Crown does not participate in disputes born of personal grievance. Authorized by both King Charles III and Princess Anne, these words carry the weight of centuries. Not anger, not defense, just clarity. But why now? What pushed the palace to break its famous code of never complain, never explain? The answer lies in a London courtroom, where Prince Harry, under oath, made allegations that crossed every institutional red line. He didn't just criticize the media. He accused his own brother, Prince William, of betrayal. He claimed Princess Catherine actively obstructed his inheritance from Princess Diana's will. He suggested the royal family orchestrated his emotional sabotage. These weren't private family arguments anymore. They were sworn testimony in a public legal battle demanding £31.6 million in damages. And the palace had seen enough. Think about this for a moment. When was the last time you saw a major institution publicly distance itself from one of its own family members during active litigation? This wasn't damage control. This was drawing a constitutional boundary. We acknowledge no involvement in the proceedings currently before the High Court. The statement continued. We will not be drawn into commentary regarding internal family matters when they are weaponized in public forums. Weaponized. That word choice wasn't accidental. Behind the scenes, palace insiders described the mood as one of resolute disappointment. Senior courtiers reportedly told associates that Prince Harry's conduct represented reckless endangerment of institutional trust. But it was Princess Anne who delivered the knockout blow. Anne's stern warning. Princess Anne has spent 7 decades perfecting the art of royal duty. No drama, no complaints, just relentless, quiet service to the crown. She completes more engagements than any other royal, rarely grants interviews, and has built a reputation as the family's most reliable workhorse. So when Anne speaks, people listen. At a supplementary briefing held at St. James's Palace, the Princess Royal issued what can only be described as a moral reckoning. The Crown serves the nation, not itself. We do not litigate our values, nor outsource our sense of responsibility to courtrooms or tabloids. Those who step away from that path do so by their own will, not by royal design. Sharp, precise, devastating. But she wasn't finished. To imply that the Princess of Wales or any member of this family interfered with a deceased mother's will, with no evidence, no hearing, no private discussion, is not only false, it is disgraceful. This institution will not legitimize delusion by dignifying it. Let that sink in. Princess Anne just called her nephew's sworn testimony delusional. This wasn't emotion. This was institutional authority drawing a line in the sand. According to sources close to the palace, Anne had been urging the family for weeks to issue a formal position. She argued that silence could be misinterpreted as complicity or weakness. The monarchy, she insisted, needed to reassert its ethical foundation. And she was right. Within hours of her statement, social media erupted. The hashtag #AnneSpeaks trended globally. British polls showed a 12-point surge in support for the royal family's handling of the crisis. Even critics of the monarchy acknowledged that Anne's directness was refreshing in an age of corporate speak and carefully worded PR statements. But here's the question that's keeping royal watchers up at night. Was this a warning to Harry or a farewell? What makes Anne's intervention so significant is her personal history with duty over emotion. This is a woman who declined royal titles for her children to give them normal lives. She's worked tirelessly for over 500 charities without seeking spotlight or recognition. She's the royal who shows up to opening ceremonies in remote villages with the same dedication she brings to state banquets. Her moral authority isn't theoretical. It's earned through decades of service without complaint. So when she calls out behavior that violates the core principles of royal duty, it carries exponentially more weight than any press secretary's statement ever could. Anne doesn't do performative outrage. She doesn't issue warnings lightly. And she certainly doesn't use words like disgraceful, unless she means them with every fiber of her being. Harry's courtroom collapse. Let's talk about what actually happened in that courtroom, because the contrast between Harry's accusations and the evidence presented tells a story far different from the one he wants us to believe. Windsor versus Associated Newspapers Limited started as a privacy lawsuit. Harry alleged that journalists engaged in illegal news gathering, phone hacking, and systematic harassment that destroyed his mental health and drove him from the UK. Noble cause, right? Holding powerful media accountable? Except the case quickly devolved into something else entirely. A public therapy session masquerading as litigation. During cross-examination, defense barrister Anthony White K.C. asked Harry a simple question. Where is the evidence? Which of these journalists engaged in illegal conduct? When? With what method? With whose confirmation? Harry's answers grew vague. He spoke of a culture of intrusion and emotional erosion. Powerful words, absolutely, but words that failed to meet any legal threshold for intentional harm or unlawful conduct. Then came the exhibits, emails, party invitations, PR coordination notes. Turns out, many of the journalists Harry now accuses of harassment were once welcomed into his inner circle. One reporter's response echoed across the courtroom. Harry, you invited me. Think about the implications here. How do you claim systematic illegal harassment from people you voluntarily gave access to your life? But the real bombshell came when Harry's legal team collapsed just 2 weeks before trial. Top-tier barristers withdrew, citing irreconcilable direction and deteriorating client cooperation. Translation? Harry became impossible to represent. Desperate, Harry reached out to Prince William for help finding new counsel. William's response? Silence. Harry called it abandonment. I turned to my brother in good faith, but I was met with silence. But palace insiders tell a very different story. Had William intervened, even to recommend a solicitor, it would have opened the door to accusations of royal interference. His refusal wasn't personal. It was institutional protocol. The problem? Harry can't see the difference anymore. Everything is personal. Every boundary is betrayal. Every silence is sabotage. And that's exactly why Princess Anne's warning matters, because this case stopped being about media ethics the moment Harry made it about his family. Legal experts watching the proceedings have been stunned by how quickly the case deteriorated from legitimate privacy concerns into what one barrister called an emotional excavation project with no clear legal foundation. The judge has had to intervene multiple times to redirect Harry's testimony back to the actual allegations at hand, rather than his feelings about family dynamics. Court observers noted that Harry appeared increasingly agitated as cross-examination intensified. His responses became defensive. His examples became anecdotal rather than evidential. And most damaging of all, he began contradicting his own previous statements, both in court and in his memoir. One particularly awkward moment came when the defense presented an excerpt from Harry's book where he praised certain journalists as fair and balanced, only to have Harry claim under oath that those same individuals had engaged in harassment. When pressed on the contradiction, Harry stammered that his perspective had evolved. The judge's expression, according to those present, said everything. The Catherine. Accusation. Of all Harry's courtroom claims, one stands out as particularly explosive, his allegation that Princess Catherine personally blocked him from receiving his inheritance from Princess Diana's sealed will. Let's be absolutely clear about what Harry claimed under oath, that Catherine, his sister-in-law, actively interfered with legal documents to prevent him from accessing what was rightfully his from his deceased mother's estate. No evidence, no documentation, no witnesses, just an accusation. The reaction was swift and brutal. Legal experts called it character assassination. Royal biographers described it as crossing a line from which there's no return. Even some of Harry's previous supporters questioned why he would make such a serious allegation without proof. Princess Catherine's response? Absolute silence. Not a single word in her own defense. Not in court, not in media, not even through private leaks. Instead, she showed up. Youth cancer centers, mental health summits, trauma recovery charities. Full schedule. Professional. Focused. You don't have to answer falsehoods to defeat them, a senior Kensington Palace aide remarked. You just keep showing up. And the public noticed. Catherine's approval ratings soared to 79%, among the highest ever recorded for a royal family member. Meanwhile, Harry's plummeted to just 26%, down from 42% before the trial began. What we're witnessing here is a masterclass in dignified power. Catherine understands something Harry seems to have forgotten. Silence, when strategic, speaks louder than any defense. Think about it. Every day Catherine chooses not to respond, Harry's accusations look more desperate. Every appearance she makes, focused on service rather than spectacle, reinforces the contrast. Who looks like a future queen? Who looks like someone trapped in their own bitterness? The answer is obvious to everyone except, apparently, Harry himself. What's particularly striking about Catherine's approach is how it mirrors the late Queen Elizabeth's handling of crisis. During the most turbulent years of the 1990s, when the monarchy faced unprecedented criticism and internal turmoil, the Queen maintained her schedule with robotic precision. She didn't cancel. She didn't hide. She didn't issue defensive statements. She simply continued being Queen. Catherine is doing exactly the same thing. By refusing to be distracted by accusations that have no evidence, she's demonstrating what true leadership looks like in the face of personal attack. She's teaching a masterclass in institutional resilience that will be studied for generations. And here's what makes it even more powerful. Catherine knows that responding would only give oxygen to baseless claims. The moment she dignifies the accusation with a rebuttal, it becomes a he said, she said situation. By staying silent, she forces Harry's claims to stand on their own merit, and they can't. "Where is Meghan?" Now we need to address the elephant not in the room: Meghan Markle. Court documents confirm that Meghan was instrumental in building this case. She initiated multiple private audits of press coverage in mid-2021. She engaged a US-based media law consultancy. She encouraged Harry to compile reputational threat dossiers. Her name appears in over 113 internal emails related to media claims and litigation strategy. So where is she now? No testimony, no statement, no court appearance, no public support for her husband whatsoever. According to sources close to Archwell Foundation, Meghan opted out of any official participation in the trial as early as October 2025, citing long-term brand preservation and emotional boundary setting. A leaked internal memo stated, "We do not recommend direct public involvement in any litigation that may result in reputational regression, moral ambiguity, or narrative contamination." Translation? This might get messy, and Meghan doesn't want the dirt on her shoes. The public response has been savage. A January 24th YouGov poll found that 62% of respondents believe Meghan's absence suggests lack of confidence in the case, while 71% say her refusal to testify undermines their joint credibility. Perhaps most telling, only 11% believe she'll re-engage before trial ends. Even more damning? Court observers report Harry looks increasingly isolated, entering through side doors, avoiding press, eyes darting during cross-examination. When one reporter asked him directly, "Where's Meghan today?" Harry didn't respond. Later, during questioning about financial losses, he muttered under his breath, "It wasn't her story to finish." Let that sink in. Harry just acknowledged, on record, that this was supposed to be their joint story, and Meghan abandoned it. Meanwhile, 5,000 miles away in Montecito, Meghan is preparing a complete brand relaunch for spring 2026. No royal references, no British media commentary, no Harry in the promotional materials. Projects include a streaming platform on emotional literacy, a fashion capsule described as fiercely apolitical, and a podcast titled The Quiet Reset about healing from narratives that never belong to you. One branding executive summarized it perfectly. This is Meghan 2.0. Wellness, empowerment, children's content. No tabloids, no tiaras. And apparently, no husband either. The timing of Meghan's disappearance raises uncomfortable questions about the foundation of their united front. For years, they presented themselves as partners in a shared mission, taking on the establishment, fighting for privacy, exposing institutional racism, and building a new model of public service. But now, when the legal battle they helped construct reaches its most critical phase, Meghan has effectively ghosted the entire endeavor. Some defenders argue this is smart legal strategy, keeping her separate from potentially damaging testimony. But critics see something darker: opportunistic abandonment. She was happy to help build the case when it served their shared narrative. But now that public opinion has turned, now that the evidence looks shaky, now that Harry's credibility is crumbling under cross-examination, she's nowhere to be found. Royal biographer Tina Brown put it bluntly in a recent column. Meghan set the house on fire and left Harry inside with the matches. The metaphor is harsh, but increasingly accurate. Every day Harry sits alone in that courtroom, making allegations he can't prove, contradicting his own statements, and watching his public support evaporate. Meghan is in California, rebranding herself as a wellness entrepreneur with no connection to the chaos. And Harry is left to wonder, was he ever the partner in this relationship, or just the vehicle? The William and Catherine Masterclass. While Harry's testimony dominated headlines with accusations and emotional appeals, Prince William and Princess Catherine maintained something remarkable: dignified distance. Not a single word from either about the trial, not a public defense, not a private leak, not one off-the-cuff remark. Instead, they worked. The day Harry testified about betrayal, William and Catherine were in Aberdeen visiting a pediatric neurology unit and unveiling a £4.3 million public health fund. The contrast couldn't be starker. Courtroom chaos versus hospital corridors filled with gratitude. Royal aides confirmed the couple's schedule was intentionally unchanged, despite media pressure. To cancel would have signaled engagement with the narrative, one senior courtier explained. And that's not how this family governs itself. On January 23rd, Catherine presided over the Royal Foundation Early Years Summit, an initiative she spent 4 years building. Her keynote on childhood development included this pointed observation. Children do not learn by being told. They learn by what they see modeled every day: strength, steadiness, and empathy. Was that a direct reference to Harry's courtroom behavior? Palace insiders insist it was purely mission-focused. But the message landed regardless. Leadership isn't declared, it's demonstrated. Sources describe the mood inside Kensington Palace as resolute but somber. William is disappointed but unsurprised. Catherine is deeply hurt but disciplined. It's character assassination wrapped in grief, one senior royal aide said, and they won't dignify it. The strategy of active silence isn't new. Queen Elizabeth II perfected it. But William and Catherine are adapting it brilliantly to a modern media age where optics carry more weight than rebuttals. The results speak for themselves. Catherine's approval rating hit 78%, a record high, while William's reached 76%, up 2 points since the trial began. Meanwhile, Harry dropped to 28%, down 4 points, and Meghan fell to just 19%, down 3 points. It's not just what the Waleses say, remarked one royal historian. It's what they don't. That silence in the face of provocation is power. What makes their approach so effective is the consistency. There's no wavering, no moments of weakness where they fire back through anonymous sources. The discipline is total and unwavering. And that discipline sends a powerful message to the British public. We are above this. We don't need to defend ourselves because our work speaks for itself. It's a calculated gamble that's paying enormous dividends. Every day that passes without a response from William or Catherine, Harry's allegations lose more credibility. Every public engagement they complete with grace and focus makes Harry's courtroom theatrics look more like a tantrum and less like a legitimate grievance. The Waleses understand something fundamental about modern public relations. In an age of constant noise, strategic silence cuts through more effectively than any statement. They're letting Harry's own words destroy his credibility, while they simply continue being the future of the monarchy. The Anne Doctrine. Behind the public statements and strategic silences, something significant has emerged, what insiders are calling the Anne Doctrine. It's not written in any constitutional document. It's not formal royal protocol, but it's become the ethical spine of the modern monarchy. 5 central pillars define it. First, service before sentiment. Royals are servants of the crown, not activists. Personal emotions, however valid, must not override the needs of the public. Second, silence is not weakness, it's strength. The refusal to engage in media theatrics isn't avoidance. It's restraint in the face of provocation. Third, legacy is earned, not demanded. Titles, inheritance, symbolic roles aren't owed by blood alone. They're granted through conduct and can be forfeited by betrayal. Fourth, no crown without character. The monarchy must hold itself to a higher ethical code. Deception, manipulation, victimhood narratives have no place in the House of Windsor. And fifth, you leave by choice. You stay by conduct. Departing from royal duties isn't exile, but returning requires honor, humility, and accountability. During a recent Privy Council meeting, Princess Anne reportedly gave a firm presentation on the dangers of allowing individual narratives to distort institutional clarity. "We are not a family soap opera," she said. "We are a constitutional pillar. If people forget that, they need to be reminded or removed." It was Anne who insisted the family refrain from countering Harry's claims directly. "Let the facts speak. Let his words sink in on their own. Truth reveals itself, and so does delusion." While King Charles remains silent and William continues working engagements, Anne has become the one setting red lines behind the curtain. Her position regarding Harry is clear. No contact, no mediation, no defense. Why? Because the family already extended multiple opportunities for private dialogue. Those efforts were either publicly rejected or repurposed into media attacks. As a result, Anne has advised the sovereign to treat Harry not as a family member in crisis, but as a private citizen pursuing a personal grievance against a third party, unaligned with the monarchy in any legal, ethical, or representational capacity. Polling shows the public overwhelmingly agrees. 67% of Britons believe the monarchy should distance itself entirely from Harry and Meghan during legal proceedings, while 73% support Anne's position that royal roles must be tied to conduct, not genetics. Among those aged 35 and older, an overwhelming 82% say Princess Anne best represents the monarchy's moral integrity. Her approval ratings now rival Princess Catherine's, a rare feat for someone who maintains a lower public profile and declines interviews altogether. "You may leave the monarchy, you may criticize it," explained one palace historian, "but you do not get to shape it from the outside." Princess Anne has always been called the quiet workhorse of the royal family. Now she's become its quiet general. Not loud, not emotional, but absolute. The Anne doctrine represents something profound, a return to the fundamental principles that have allowed the British monarchy to survive for over 1,000 years. It's a rejection of celebrity culture, victimhood narratives, and the weaponization of personal grievance. And it's working. The monarchy's approval ratings have actually increased during this crisis, not despite the family's silence, but because of it. The British public is watching two very different approaches to conflict: Harry's scorched earth litigation and public accusations versus the royal family's dignified continuity of service. And they're choosing dignity. The verdict before the verdict. As Windsor versus Associated Newspapers Limited moves toward closing arguments, something unexpected happened. Harry's legal team filed a motion to amend their original claim. They're now seeking £18.7 million instead of £31.6 million. They've dropped the breach of confidence angle entirely. Why? Because they know they're losing. Defense barristers systematically disproved key timelines. Witnesses challenged Harry's allegations as emotionally driven but legally unsubstantiated. Evidence of harassment turned out to be social invitations and PR emails. Legal experts predict portions of the case may be dismissed outright or at best result in a symbolic ruling with minimal damages. Harry came seeking justice, but he brought emotion instead of evidence, and when asked to prove the harm, all he could point to was resentment. The irony is devastating. Harry positioned himself as the plaintiff, the victim demanding accountability, but increasingly he looks like the defendant against his own contradictions. Meanwhile, the monarchy he tried to fracture has never looked more united. Final polling data, released January 27th, tells the story. 74% of respondents believe Meghan should have testified if she truly supported the cause, while 68% say Harry now appears more isolated than ever. Perhaps most damning, only 12% believe the lawsuit helped the couple's public image. And when asked, who best represents the values of the modern monarchy? The top answers were Catherine, William, and Princess Anne. Not the king, not tradition for tradition's sake, but the working royals who show up, stay quiet, and serve. The reduction in damages sought is particularly telling. In legal terms, it's essentially an admission that the original case was overreaching. But it also reveals something about Harry's state of mind. He genuinely believed his emotional testimony would be enough. He thought that by sharing his pain publicly, by making the family look cold and unfeeling, that judges and jury would side with him based on sympathy alone. But British law doesn't work that way, and neither does the court of public opinion anymore. People are tired of victimhood narratives from privileged individuals. They're exhausted by celebrities and public figures who seem to believe that feeling hurt is the same as being wronged, that discomfort equals abuse, that boundaries equal betrayal. Harry's case has become a referendum on that entire mindset. And the verdict, at least in terms of public opinion, is decisively against him. The Quiet Reckoning. Inside Clarence House, Operation Quiet Tether remains in effect indefinitely. No formal statement on Harry or the trial. No legal motion from the palace. No contact unless through official diplomatic channels. This is not exile, one senior advisor explained. This is consequence. Even King Charles, known for his emotional temperament, has made no overture. Sources say he's made peace with the idea that reconciliation, if it comes, must come without public leverage or courtroom accusations. At an informal gathering at the Royal Navy College, Princess Anne was asked off-record whether she felt the family had failed Harry. Her response was short, quiet, but resolute. "We didn't fail him. We just stopped following him." That single sentence appeared on the front page of 3 major UK papers and was shared over 4 million times across platforms. It's the closing argument the monarchy never made in court, but didn't need to. Because here's what we're really witnessing: a national meditation on character. Harry may yet win a partial judgment, but the monarchy, silent, stable, unshaken, has already won something larger: the loyalty of its people, the credibility of its heirs, the moral ground that cannot be litigated. Behind the palace walls, there's a sense of sadness mixed with resolution. These are people who genuinely love Harry, who remember him as the cheeky little boy who walked behind his mother's coffin with extraordinary dignity. They remember the soldier who served in Afghanistan, the prince who created the Invictus Games, the brother who once shared an unbreakable bond with William. But they also recognize that the Harry who exists now is not the same person. Whether it's the influence of California culture, the impact of therapy that prioritized validation over accountability, or the cumulative effect of surrounding himself with people who tell him what he wants to hear rather than what he needs to hear, something fundamental has changed. And the monarchy cannot sacrifice its integrity to accommodate one person's inability to move forward. That's the heartbreaking reality beneath all the legal maneuvering and public statements. This isn't about being cruel or unforgiving. It's about recognizing that some people make choices that take them beyond the reach of the institutions they once belonged to. Harry chose to leave. He chose to monetize his grievances. He chose to make private family matters public entertainment. And now he's chosen to drag those matters into a courtroom where they don't belong. Each choice was his to make, and each choice had consequences he seems unwilling to accept. Legacy isn't claimed, it's lived. So what have we learned from this extraordinary chapter in royal history? Princess Anne's warning wasn't just about one lawsuit or one wayward prince. It was about something fundamental: the difference between demanding respect and earning it. Harry thought he could force the monarchy to acknowledge his pain, validate his grievances, and rewrite the narrative of his departure. He weaponized the courts. He implicated his family under oath. He demanded accountability without offering any himself. And the Crown responded with something more powerful than any legal defense: dignified silence. Catherine didn't need to defend herself because her work speaks louder than accusations. William didn't need to rescue his brother because institutional boundaries matter more than emotional manipulation. Anne didn't need to elaborate because clarity doesn't require explanation. Meanwhile, Meghan's absence revealed perhaps the most uncomfortable truth of all. This was never really about justice. It was about leverage. And when the leverage stopped working, so did the partnership. The monarchy isn't perfect. It's an ancient institution trying to navigate modern challenges. But in this moment, it demonstrated something essential: that duty, when practiced with consistency and humility, will always outlast drama. Harry came to court seeking vindication. Instead, he revealed isolation. He wanted to expose his family's failures. Instead, he exposed his own inability to let go. He demanded his legacy. But legacy isn't claimed through lawsuits. It's lived through service, built through sacrifice, and earned through character. As Princess Anne so perfectly stated, "We wish him peace, but we will not join him on this path." And with no press conference, no interviews, and no rebuttals, the royal family stands together, taller than ever, moving forward. The question now isn't whether Harry wins his case. The verdict that matters has already been delivered by the British public, by his own isolation, and by the institution that continues without him. What we're witnessing is a family that has made the painful decision to let one member go rather than compromise the principles that define them. It's not done out of cruelty, but out of necessity. The monarchy serves millions of people. It cannot be held hostage by one person's unresolved trauma. And perhaps that's the most important lesson in all of this. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone who's determined to self-destruct is to step back and let them face the consequences of their choices. Not to punish them, but to protect the integrity of what you represent. The Crown has done exactly that. And history will remember this moment not as the crisis that broke the monarchy, but as the moment it demonstrated that duty and character still matter more than celebrity and victimhood. What do you think? Did Princess Anne go too far, or did she say exactly what needed to be said? Should the royal family have defended themselves more publicly, or is their silence the ultimate power move? And can Harry ever find his way back, or has that door permanently closed? Could this courtroom drama actually strengthen the monarchy by clarifying its values? And what does Meghan's complete absence tell us about the real dynamics of their relationship? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. The royal story is far from over, and your perspective matters. If you found this analysis valuable, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because we'll be following every development in this unprecedented royal reckoning. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.